Aroro, let me ask you now, real talk. I've got a hard question for you.
Yes.
What is wrong with us then? How can you be telling me Atem is in the league of Miriam Makeba, but I don't feel like the Kenyan appreciation is there?
I think I was going to say that later, but I think it's. I was going to say that's what made me move to the US. Kenya has an acute or chronic problem, which is a cancer of completely disregarding the arts. Why? It doesn't make sense, because many other countries, art is what we are as Africans. Why is it that all these festivals in Europe, and especially Europe, why is it that the big acts pop right now? Why is Beyonce doing music with Nigerians? You know, I've never understood why, and it is a sore subject for many of us as artists, and it is a culture. You find it from everywhere, from leaders to everywhere. It's like music, acting. If you think us guys have got a problem, what about dancers, choreographers? It is such an acute problem. I don't know why. I don't know it's unique to our culture. I've got a friend of mine who's Maurice Kiria from Uganda.
From Uganda.
He thinks that it's even he feels that even it's there in Uganda. That's why he's like, Uganda has never really taken off in terms of big artists. So there's a time that,
but the love and support that Ugandans show their own,
that's true,
is much different.
Yeah. That's I was about to say that, because I've done shows in Uganda and it's ridiculous. You know, I've done shows in Tanzania where they even don't have that jazz culture. It's ridiculous, but it is unique to us. It is unique to Kenya. I've spent a lot of time in South Africa.
Yeah, you've done too.
I've spent a lot of time. Now I live in the US. And I find it peculiar that we, Muthoni was talking about it, like the love she gets. You have seen the footage that it is ridiculous. I'm like, this is the same music that I play for my people, but for some reason, I don't know where it came from, but I have a feeling that it happened somewhere in the 70s, because all those guys, Okina Slim Ali, Okina Kelly Brown, all those big artists. Because at the time I had a conversation with Tabu Wasusa, and even him, he's puzzled, and he's an older guy. But he said that it is about anything that is to do with creativity. Even he boiled it down. He's like, why is it that you bargain with that guy who's making for you your jeans? When you tell him, when he tells you, I want 2,000, you tell him, no, tukua 500. What do you think that he's not worth? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Why is it? It's not only music, but it is anything that is creative. When you make that shelf, when the guy comes and tells you, I'm going to make you a nice seat with the Nini, it tells you, that is going to be about 120,000. You even scoff at him. You're like, are you crazy? Because he knows that's how much it is worth. He's paying you for everything. But you say, no way. In fact, when you abuse him and tell him I'll get it for 30K.
It's true.
And we musicians are also complicit to that behavior. So it is in our culture, because we are complaining on one side.
And we're doing it on this side.
But we're doing it on the other side. We look down on creativity. It's not only music, but any creative thing.
When you see your cost in the States, or when you're doing shows in South Africa, do they start from a bargaining perspective?
They'll offer you a fee. And the fee is okay. So even if you refuse, it's okay. You're like, okay, I'm sorted. Because they understand. And then the profile you have, you're a bigger artist, they'll offer you more money. So you're not known. If you're good but not known, you'll get this. So the more you build your profile, the more you can command a larger fee. But it is creativity. And
it's Kenyans for Kenyans, because when a person from abroad tells you their fee, sometimes they're charging you 10 times more.
But it is a behavior that even as before I left, I managed festivals, and I've seen it time and time again as a musician and as someone who has been involved in events here. It behooves me. Let me use that big word. Why even backstage? The art, this whole idea of creativity, Kenyans will see other people from other countries as for them it's a career, But the people who do the exact same thing here, it's just a hobby. That's why you'll find people my age who have got the pocket to attend a show. Let me tell you, a show when you go and see, let me think of an artist, like let's say Maxwell. The average ticket is $125. And people here would go and pay. If you came and charged here, how many times James Ingram paid 10,000 and it was packed. I was even surprised. Like, yani, guys can show up for a show for 15,000, 25,000. People are ready to pay. But why is it that it's outside? Because we believe outside there, that's a career for them. But for us, it's not a career for us. So the question that I find very peculiar is, the first thing anytime you're doing a show is like, who is coming? Why does it matter? The other artists here. Who is coming? Coming from where? Not who is playing. Those are very two different questions. Who is coming? Not like who is coming, not who is playing.
Yeah. That is. I get it.
And I was like, interesting. That's the question that I hear. Nani anakam? Who's coming? So when you tell them, and I get that anytime I do Koroga. I like, who's coming? I'm like, who's coming? So when I say it's a Kenyan thing, you see how someone becomes deflated.
The demeanor changes.
The demeanor is like, we're getting Sauti Sol and Kiduma playing. And you scare, nah. Why? Why that reaction? And that's why for me it is a unique culture that looks down on creativity. Not even arts. Of course, that's what art is. Creative arts.
Yeah.
It goes all the way down to the guy who makes your shoes, the guy who makes your furniture, the guy who makes everything that is creative. Because there's no value. We don't see it as it's valuable.
Okay. We're going to come back to this conversation.
In fact, let me put a pause. Let me add this.
Then.
These seats that guys, this very nice seats that guys, let me tell you, know how much that seat is when you laugh at him when he tells you 150. He's charging you a third of what he will get in New York. That same seat, just go to Amazon and get that L shaped with Madoy. Go buy that seat. First of all, you want to ship it. First of all, you'll be charged shipping. And that's why it's so sad, man. Why do you think I left? You get tired. You're like, you know what? I've worked, but let me do something for me. Let me go also grow. Because you can't be an activist at the same time. Us musicians have been forced to be activists to justify what we do.
That is just
to every time. Why do I have to justify to you every time I'm a musician?
Let me be a musician.
Yeah. You don't justify to me about being a banker. You don't justify to me being a doctor. You don't justify to me. I accept you. In fact, you expect me to accept you.
Yeah.
But anytime I say I'm an actor, and so what else do you do?
Yeah.
Why? And that is a question that, you know what, probably I should stop asking myself and just focus on what I need to do. But it is unique to us. And I'm not saying that there's those who get it. And that's why we've done many shows and people show up. But all in all, it is a culture that is there.
That's true.
Yeah. And there are those who have built our careers, and the people who have bought our CDs, people who have come to all my gigs, all that jazz, who have shown up for all my sessions, who have listened to my shows. And there are those who are. But I wish that was the normal, not the exception. You know, so when you advertise and say that I'm playing here, show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have a problem with selling out. Not on day of your tickets have been there from advance, but day of gig.
Let me tell you, there's a special type of anxiety when you're thinking about tickets and you're the one who is playing.
Yep.
I don't think that thing you're out there like, because that is what will help you pay all the bills.
Yep.
So you're like, but I hope it gets full. I'm like, it's so unfair as a creative. I'm not always going to perform. And those are the things I'm thinking. oh, this guy needs to be paid. Oh, this guy needs to be paid. The suppliers, what? And then after the show, they'll ask for their dues.
Yep.
So, but you're there scratching your head, you know. And anyway, let's,
We'll
yeah,
get
we'll
it.
do it.
I'm glad that you've snipped.
Yeah,
snipped.
yeah. I want
Yeah.
to have time on that.
Yeah, because for me, what you said is you've worked. And this conversation has already shown me the amount of work that you have put in to create, not the brand Aroro, just to show what it is that you do.
Yeah.
You get, we're not even talking about your first album or
No,
your first.
yeah.
But all of this is stuff you've already done.
Yeah, and I was by 20. I was 23.
That is insane.
So by the time now we're doing Eric's thing, yeah, I was turning 24. No, 23. 23 or 24. 24.
Okay. So this is where you left it off. You've met this lady called Atemi.
Yes, at the musical.
At the musical. But I've not heard you ask Eric yet.
I'm coming there.
Okay, sir.
So Eric starts introducing the musicians. And then now, from Eric's side, he said he took a risk. Because he didn't have a piano player or a keyboardist. So he announces and says, and Aaron is going to play the piano. So
No
it's like,
way.
So it's like, even I look, like, there's another guy. Just like that.
Because you showed up.
Because I showed up. That's another thing. Sometimes you have to go look for that opportunity if you want it. Because I could have just been passive and told Kungu, go put in a word for me. But sometimes you just have to show up. You just have to go there. Just go there. Show up. Because probably that's the time it was needed. So I was like, yes! Yes! That's how I was. I was like, finally. Then I was like, phase 1. Now phase 2, I want to play for his band. Because after this musical is over, what's going to happen? But so far,
And
so
remember,
good.
this is your full-time job.
I'm inside. At least I'm in the loop.
That is crazy.
So we do Luanda, and it just changes everything.
yeah. They come.
Yeah.
How the what's her name again? The actors actually come
Oh, yeah,
and watch.
Goi is acting exactly the
yeah,
the
Goi,
first.
yeah.
Yeah. My sister is and it ended
Sorry,
up
I
being
was
such a
confusing. I was
fantastic
confusing
player.
Luanda for Sarafina.
Huh? She was the evil. She was the evil princess. Or,
That was the best show, man.
it was such a nice show, yeah, and it was such a and you see, for me, it also took me back to the Saints days, took me back to, because I have this thing for theater.
Yep.
Now, one day in between rehearsal, see, Eric has his own gig, so we're rehearsing some music for London. He's like, hey, Aaron, do you know my songs?
Do I know your song?
Do I know your songs? Of course, I know your songs.
No, you're laughing, but that is such a huge lesson. You knew his song.
Let me tell you, when
Sawa Sawa.
Sawa Sawa came out, I learned all those songs. Like I was like, when this guy calls me, I'll be like, yes, I know. I know them. Like, I even know the keys. I know even the licks. I know everything. So when he told me, because we're in the middle of we're rehearsing for one of the tunes, and he asked me, hey, do you know my songs? I'm like, yeah. So it's like, Sawa Sawa, I played for him, and he's like, okay, this guy knows. This guy just knows the stuff. So, and of course, Kungu was playing, and Henry Sa, and there's this fantastic guitarist called, I'm not even Aizo, there's a guy called John Were. So we did a show, Mundial were doing something at KICC, with 2 stages. Let me tell you, we went and did Retoriaku. Some of my musician friends tell me they were there. So they always make fun of me. At Eric ameleta msemu American. Akona kaiari. I'm like, Akiati American. Because I was not in that scene yet for gigging. So, because I went there, we played that music. Hey, even Gidoki Bukosi they were playing a gig. They were playing after us, Nanaziki. And she was like, hey, Eric. And that's how I ended up. Now I was like, I'm inside.
Victor, I'm never opening up the door for you.
Finally, I'm inside. It has happened. 5 years I've been waiting for this. So and that ended up being like one of the best times of my year. Playing with Eric, I ended up being his musical director, organizing for the band, payments. And so and you know, as an MD, you get 1.5 or 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So that ended up becoming my, hey, there's a gig. Woo! We played. That's the day that I want. You know, sometimes you have to show guys that you've earned your medal. So we did a gig at the Pavement in early 2004.
Yeah.
And everyone in the industry was there. Knocking on radio, everyone. So I knew that people had not heard of me. So what did I do? And little did I know, that's probably how I was launching myself as a career pianist. So I went and asked Eric, can I play a solo in one of your tunes? There's a song that I used to like called Ukweli. I was like, he said yes. So we rehearsed and the gig was ridiculous. So before the song, before we got to Ukweli, because I knew a bit of language, Meno shows up, the pianist.
Ooh.
So now I was like, okay, now my plan may not necessarily work.
Just hold on. Mugash. Okay, so before Meno shows up.
Meno shows up. So I was like, okay, my plan may not necessarily work because today was my day for shining. But there's a guy here who knows that stuff. But it ended up being such a fantastic... that is probably one of the nicest performance venues, the Pavement. Because even in 2002 when we came back, Zakamunga was playing there. It was such... And not outside there, because there was inside the club.
Yep.
That was a... oh man, the Pavement is a ridiculous venue. It's for wow. Wow. You know, so
at this time when you've become Eric's band member,
yeah,
you still have the gig with Bruce?
I still no. Now towards the just before Luanda started, I left Johari Clef.
Okay.
Because I felt like now I really want to concentrate also on performance. So I also was like production. No, I don't. Let me. For Winds was going on. Eric has come in. The musicals are checking in. So I'm like, let me check. Let me
try this world.
Let me try this world. So the entire 2004 ended up being Four Winds and Eric.
Sure. Exclusively.
Because now Kanji had to go back to do his tour in the States. And so that's what so 2004 ended up being just about that.
And did you do any tours with Eric outside the country?
No, we didn't. For some reason, at that time we didn't. It's strange to me that the 2.5 years of Eric, he didn't tour outside. Yeah, which I like, okay. But I was just happy that I was playing with him. Yeah. And then he later ended up having now a collaboration with Tim, and then they ended up opening their studio.
Yes.
So, but and I was happy. I was like, yeah, that was not my thing.
That was not your
yeah,
work,
yeah.
Yep.
So for me, I just wanted to play with Eric. That was my main thing. I just wanted to be a musician.
And how often was he playing?
He was playing so much because he was doing the corporate gigs. He was doing his own gigs. He was playing at the embassies. Eric was like, he was the guy. So we're not doing bad money-wise. Though in 2004, another significant thing happened. In that in 2001, I'd met RK. And then and when we reconnected, he wanted me to play at his wedding. So I played at his wedding.
RK's wedding now?
Yeah. 2003, yeah. So, or 2004, somewhere. 2004, I think. Yeah. And do you know who was singing the main tune for the wedding for RK's? Like the singer I was accompanying and we were doing praise and worship with? Kambua. Yeah. So that's how I even met Kambua. And even I met Kambua before because she'd come, she wanted to do...
Kavuda.
Yeah.
For Winds,
yeah. So I even met her there at that time. And she was even in between strategizing whether to go back to study. And then now this thing with RK's wedding that happened. So I ended up... That's how I met her and we started... we did a few things together. And then even there was a time, for a moment, she tried to do some things at Kijiji in 2005. But anyway, that's number one in 2004. The other significant thing that happened was the Coca-Cola Pop Stars. And then when after they won, who was it? It was
Pam,
Sana, and Kevin. So they needed to do an album, and as the group Sema, you know. So I was invited to participate in the recording, and I was going there not as a producer but as a session musician. And I was going initially I was actually going for arcade session. So when I get there, I meet Chris is working on Mwewe. So he's like, hey, I don't know, you're here. I'm like, yeah. Like, can you add some minis? So I ended up doing playing some keys. What Arcade did, because Arcade was now working at Homeboys. So that's where
and Sema's album was being done at Homeboys.
And my relationship with Homeboys is unique, in that in 2000, as a young pianist practicing at Lavington United Church, this lady comes and asks me, can you play at a wedding tomorrow? I'm like, okay, yes, we'll pay you 10,000. That time, that money was like telling me I'll pay you 500K. So I was like, and then it ended up being that was Mike Raba's wedding.
No.
That's how I met Mike Raba. I played at his wedding. And it is John who gave me the money.
Yo.
John is the one who gave me the money.
Yani, I don't know. This is where I'm showing your stripes are showing. Let me say this. RK produced a couple of songs on that album.
For Sema.
Yeah, for Sema. Including the big one.
Yes.
And
that's where I met a ridiculous guitar player called Isaac Mugunda.
Ooh, he was also a session player.
He was a session player. And he had actually been doing a session music. He was primarily based with Ted Josiah. So he was doing a lot of sessions at that time. And even in 2003, I met him there because the Johari Clifford moved to Lenana Road.
Yes.
And right down was
Audio Vault. Blue Zebra.
Blue Zebra. And that's where I connected with Waire, because he was the engineer and producer, you know. And that had already done a lot of guitar work, because it's on all the guitars you hear on that album. Not even on his album, but Susanna Wio, a lot of the guitar work, Abi Kikwetu, a lot, because that's what, and that's the thing that I have to say about Ted. Ted is such a musician, because on this side he has got Kalamashaka, but he has got this very Afro stuff that is going on with Okina
Gidi Gidi.
Not even Gidi Gidi, because Gidi Gidi was more hip hop.
Okay, yes.
But there's this new thing that he's cooking up here.
What we called Afrofusion.
There's this thing that he's cooking up here with Okina now. As I said, Susanna Wio, and especially Susanna Wio and Abi. Yeah, that I was like, wow, you know. Like I didn't know, so when I found out it was Ted Josiah, I was like, Ted, man.
Yep. At the same time, he's doing Dij.
He's doing Dij. He's doing Dij. He's doing. Ted is such a ridiculous producer and so versatile, you know. So and don't forget that I met him where in 1994 on stage, running up and down, making sure the sound and the big sound, playing keyboards. And then in 1998 in Saints, I saw him playing briefly for something that was happening in Saints. And Kaima was an intern, so they were there together. Because I'd taken Kaima to Saints to check this thing that is happening in St. Mary's. And I was playing the piano, and this guy comes and tells me, let me play. And it was Ted Josiah. So now 2004, I meet Isaac Mugunda, because he had already been doing stuff at
Homeboys and Ted's, yeah.
Now, Eric is looking for a guitar player.
Hold on, even before we get there, I don't want to skip over this big thing that you've just said. You know, when I got the Sema album, for me, one of the most classic albums in this country, it's on my top 10 list, is that Sema album. That thing is amazing. The diversity of producers in it. I actually, when I read Mwewe, I thought it was actually you who produced it because your name was in the credits.
Yeah.
It's later on when I talked to Chris, he said, no, Aro actually played the keys. So the keys that you hear on that is you. And even another song called Heaven by RK, now the one he produced. Very
even another song called Come to Me, my darling. Yeah, it's me.
So now this was you as a session
musician. I was hired to play keyboards.
Nice.
Yeah. And then now my relationship with RK as a session musician started there.
Oh my God. And when we'll talk about Kanji's Rauka album, we're going to
Even
come.
that all these gospel musicians RK is played with. Who do you think is playing keys?
Okay, hold on. We're going to come there. Let's talk
And
about
then-
Aizo.
Aizo. So Aizo, Eric is looking for a guitar player because we're rehearsing at KNT, Kenyan National Theatre. But the guitar player we had was a brilliant guitar player, but he's from Congo. So now the communication, so it was becoming a bit difficult because now like, there's some things, I'm like, how do you say E flat minor 7 in Swahili? Because Eric's music needs those type of changes, you know. So like,
how do you explain Eric's music?
Eric's music it is more. I just say it's contemporary Kenyan music because I don't like to say it's Afrofusion because like that boxes.
No,
it.
from a musical.
But from a musical, it's a fusion. Because he has got a lot of influences from R&B. He has got the gospel thing inside. So he has got gospel. He's got R&B, and then now he brings in the heavy banger. You know, that is so. It's this. Which is you'll find the same music, the same sound even in what Abi was doing, what Atemi has been doing, what Krucial. So there's a sound that is like that. That is also heavily reliant on instrumentation. People playing, not too much programming.
Yes.
So that's what Eric's music is.
Okay.
It's like an Afro soul. I'd probably call it Afro soul. Probably.
I get it.
But sometimes I tend not to
box it
that way. I'm like, it's just contemporary Kenyan music, you know. But for the sake of putting a tag, I'd call it Afro soul.
Okay.
Something. Yeah.
So now Isaac is looking for a session player.
No, Eric is looking for a session guitarist.
Yeah.
So
here there's language communication.
Yeah. Now JJ has gone now to study in Canada. So not even for Wins, you don't have a guitar player. So it ended up being now stripped to a trio. Because now JJ had left.
Oh, okay.
So and at that time we couldn't get a guitar player. So but now Eric's looking for a guitar player, and then I'm like, hey, this guy is ridiculous, Aizo. So one day I asked him, Eric is looking for a guitar player. Would you like to play for Eric Wainaina? Because I was his musical director, and that's how Aizo.
So you are the reason that Aizo ended up there.
They had met before, but the gig itself, in terms of playing, and I think also Eric may have spoken to him later, like officially. But yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's crazy.
And that's even me now. I got to get to know Aizo.
Yeah. Now in this working relationship. So what was the core band at this time? Is Atemi by the one of the?
Of course, she's a BV. So now we are always. I always meet her.
Who was that core team?
So it was on drums was Henry Saha. On bass now Kumu had the stuff going on. So now Kumu, there were two bass players for a while, depending on who was available. There's Stanley Chalo, who is the older brother to Kevin Mule.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Absolutely. So there's Stanley Chalo, and then there's now Aizo, Isaac Mugunda, and then and then myself. And then on BVs there's Atemi, then there's Rachel. Yeah, those are the two.
And then they stayed together.
We were killing those shows. We were rocking it hard. And so it was a very good year for me.
Okay.
And then we did a show with Four Winds and with LYF, Loreto Youth Fellowship.
Yep.
And that's where I officially met, because there used to be this group called Brotherly Love. Alfred Minjire and one Gabriel Omondi.
Ooh.
So now I knew, because Gabi is also quite. So that's why now he came to me like, yeah, you're the guy who plays like so yeah. Then I met him there, and he's such a man. He's I think one of the tunes for Citizen. He's the one who may have programmed it. Yeah, and a lot of ads. He was also into the ad business. So a lot of our relationships started happening. I started meeting even now the Ogopa Camp guys. I met who did I meet? Wahoo. Around 2004, because there was these events that were happening in Village Market, what are they called? It was,
Village market.
yeah, there was an event at Village Market. There's like a club inside there.
Sikiliza.
Club Skiliza, yeah. So that's why, because of me being with Eric, because being invited for those things,
I
now
get
I
it.
started now
Meeting the industry.
meeting the industry. Now radio people, yeah. Buddha Blaze, that's when I met him. That's the first time I met Buddha Blaze, because he was running fat,
Yep.
you know.
Together with Strano, yes.
Yeah, Mike Strano, yeah. Actually, that's when I met Mike Strano, yeah. Those Skiliza gigs.
Okay. I want there's one industry that you've just
Oh, yeah.
teased me with that I want to hear the
River
story.
Road.
And I'm hearing as if the door of this is RK.
No,